Hello, in this section we are going to talking about how can we use all this basic knowledge in order to create a website. And as you can see here, there is actually a template that I provided for these sections exercise. As you can see, there are different sections: home, product, about, Mondial3D, and so on. And as you can see here in the nav bar, you can actually navigate between these sections, and different animation, different property will be occur. And also you can scroll actually from the home section to the other sections. And as you can see, we use a different property of Three.js in this example. This is one of the template that we were using for the Mondial3D.com. However, it's not satisfy our requirements, so I decided to use this template in order to actually teach you how can we assemble different knowledge, different basic knowledge, in order to create a website that uses Three.js. And there are different properties, different sections that we are going to cover, such as shader, loading manager, transition between pages, and actually the auto type section that you can see here. And this is actually a very complete website that you can use as a template. I designed this website for the Mondial3D.com, and the name on that time was Mon3 Studio. However, it's changed to the Mondial3D.com. You can see and check our website. It's help you to understand different property of Three.js. In the first section, in the home section, I use the shader that is available in this website. You can actually check it by yourself. And as you can see here, I use the basic template of the shader, and after that I apply different changes. And there is a Three.js journey website, and in this website you can see that it's used the same shader that I use in the Mondial3D.com. You can check it, the Three.js journey, and it's help you to understand different property of Three.js. You can actually purchase their videos. It is about the Three.js, and actually we provided the most topics in our YouTube channel. You can check it yourself. However, for additional resources, you can check this Three.js journey. And as you can see here, there's a shader that we used, and I just use the shader for the first section, the home section, and afterward we are going to actually apply the basic Three.js, and you can see actually the different property in the following video. So from now on, we are going to actually cover these parts that I mentioned. In this section, we are going to cover the loading manager, which is one of the topics that we were never discussed in the previous section. There is a function, there is a method called loading manager. You can actually create a loading manager, and afterward we are going to use the loading manager variable in our another loader, for example in RGBE loader, and it will be calculate the loading time. And there's a progress bar here that I used in my HTML code, and the ID is progress bar, and we set the value, initial value to the 0 and the maximum value to the 100. And as you can see in script code, we we calculate the time remaining, or the percentage that objects are loaded into our scene, and afterward we are going to show it as a element inside our HTML code. You can check out the function by yourself. It is so simple. It will be get the progress value, and it will be divided the loaded divided by total, multiply 100, and it will be shown in our HTML. And if each element inside our website loaded successfully, the condition is that we loaded each item that uses the loading manager successfully. There is a progress bar container. You can check it yourself. However, in this code, if each item uses that loading manager loaded successfully, we are going to make the display to the none. And by using this feature, we are going to have a loading in our website. And as you can see here, it will be calculate, it will be update our loading. In this section, we are going to actually discuss the transition between each pages. There is a two type of transition that applied in this website. The first one is actually using the navbar, using the click, or you can actually use the scroll in order to transition between pages. And other transition is actually based on the clock of your website. And as you can see here, if we wait long enough, the website will be automatically transition between each section. And as you can see here, there is a transition that happened in between the Mondial3D section and chain and cone section. And actually, this is a very cool trick that you can apply it in your code. Actually, in the transition section, we create a counter. I name it the شمارنده. It means the counter. It is a Persian word. And as you can see here, I initial the شمارنده to the 0. And afterward, each time the clock update, the شمارنده variable will be updated correspondingly. And if the شمارنده happen to be the sum numbers, for example 800 or 3300, if it happen to be the sum number, it will be actually, for example, change the scene and delete the previous sections, and so on. The animation will be applied based on the counter that we applied in here. And as you can see here, for example, in here, if شمارنده is equal to 0, some actions will be happen. And if we have a scroll, the شمارنده will be updated manually. And for example, in here, if شمارنده is 100, and so on. And as you can see here, different actually functionality happen here. It's typically replace the clock. On that time, I use the counter. However, you can use the clock by yourself if its clock happen to be the, for example, some numbers, for example, 800, as you can see here. or another number that you are going to use, it will be some action correspondingly happen, and you can apply different functionality by yourself, but however it will be actually meet the requirement of the transition between pages, and that's it. And as you can see here in the navbar, for example, if we have the click on the product, let me actually bring these sections in here. It is so simple. I use the get element by ID and add event listener, and after the for example the product button clicked, I will manually change the show more and the counter that we discussed in the previous sections, and you can actually create different functionality, different algorithm that you're going to use. However, I use these as algorithm. It is so simple, and as you can see here, different section have the different show more and or different counter, and it is so simple. You can use it by yourself, or you can apply it another, for example, functionality. So in this section, we are going to actually cover the shader. As you can see here in the first sections, we use the shader that I actually mentioned the resource before, and there's actually a shader like a orbit in actually border of the Earth, and you are able actually, as you can see here, there's a shader also here used here, and actually you can replace the shader with the simple object and change the opacity to the for example 0.2, and it will be replace the shader. However, I personally use the shader in order to create these visual effects. Let's see, and let me actually see where is the shader. As you can see here, I create a variable in here. As you can see here, I create a variable, and there is a shader material, and actually we load the shader that we are going to actually use it by using texture loader, and in the texture loader we pass the loading manager. As we discussed in the loading manager section, we see that the loading manager will calculate the time that are taken in order to load the shader and apply it in our scene. I use it in order actually to calculate the time, and as you can see here, this is our shader that we are going to use, which is the Earth, and actually this is a texture, however we use the shader, and as you can see here, there is a vertex shader. And how is that possible to set the shader? As you can see here, let me actually find the corresponding code. Sorry for the inconvenience. I found the corresponding code. As you can see here, there's a shader. There's a global textures that we are going to use it in our shader in order to actually apply the shader into the texture that we have, and afterward we adjust the position and adjust the name, and we add the Earth to the scene. And there is a atmosphere here, and however in this shader I apply the code directly, as you can see here, and actually we are going to cover how to create our own shader in the next following stage of our videos. As you can see here in the about sections, there's a earth, there is an atmosphere, and we apply them to the scene. And as you can see that we actually created and you can see the environment, and the environment file format is something called HDR. And before that, we are discussing the HDR file format. There is a loading manager in here too, and we pass it to the RGB loader in order to calculate the time, the loading time, to actually to use the loading manager inside our code. And as you can see here, in different parts of loader, we pass the loading manager variable, and we create a new RGB loader, and then we pass the texture that we are going to use as the RGB loader. And in the environment, I actually load some file.htr, and the HDR file format actually is kind of different from the regular file format. Let me search the HDR, and for example, HDR is created in order to use it as a texture inwardly. I means, as you can see here, there is a HDR view of that mountain. It is scanned 3D, previously scanned 3D. Let me find the a website, for example. Oh, as you can see here, there is a 3D scan of that view, and you can use it in order to actually apply it as the texture inwardly. And when you apply it in the, for example, texture as a sphere, you can see that you have the actually complete 3D view of that environment. It is so useful. You can use it in your metaverse, and sometimes developer use the, for example, just the lighting of that HDR, not only the texture. In this section, I use the star geometry, and as I mentioned in the HDR section, if we use for example, let me actually show the picture in here. There is a textures called galaxy. For example, as you can see here, let me show you the section. I use the galaxy.png as the texture, and afterward I use the shape geometry in order to create the geometry that I wanted. And as you can see here, I created a sphere geometry, and initialize the XYZ value, and afterward I use the galaxy.png to the a map, and I use this side 3.backside, in which means that I use the image inwardly. If plane have two sides, for example the front side and the back side, I use the back side in here. And there's a star mesh here, and we actually apply the star material and star geometry to the star mesh. And as you can see here, there is a star geometry in here. In order, actually, we have the auto type. I use the typed library, And as you can see here, we created type and passed the for example the text that we are going to show it in our website to it, and the type and we created typed, we use the typed, and we pass the ID or the class name, and we use the type speed and back speed in order to show different text. In this section of code, I create a function called zoom, and I use the events.delta_y, and let me actually replace the scale to the, for example, to the height or high y. And in this section, if we have the scrolling functionality in our code, in our environment, it will be correspondingly change the Shomorande counter that we are discussed in the transition between pages in to the different into the different value. For example, if the high y is equal to 101, the Shomorande will be for example will be to assigned will be to 3129. And you can, as I mentioned, it is actually so personal in order to create your algorithm, in order to create the different animation. However, I decided to use correspondingly. As you can see here, whenever I scroll between different sections, it will be actually deactivate, or I should say decompose all the previous environment and upload or reload our corresponding environment that we are going to use on that sections.